know if you heard, Woj, Stoney is calling on you to call on Tom Gorse, to call on Stan Van Gundy to do a mock draft.
I lost track of the call on.
Yes.
What are we supposed to call on for anymore? I've completely lost track with this Pistons fiasco.
Well, the caller was intimating that, everybody wanted to run Jim Caldwell out of town, and Jamie made the point that because we like Stan is not prickly like Caldwell, a lot of some members of the media
Like Stoney.
No.
Stoney.
Won't call for his head. I said, well, maybe we need somebody in the newspaper. I said, well, maybe our next guest will call for Stan's head.
So he's calling on you to call on Stan.
Well, Stan's head, has already been called for to a certain degree, and here's my opinion on this, is I think Stan is putting his own head on the block. See, this notion that, and I've heard a lot of people since the other Woj's report came out, that, Stan is back as coach, and oh boy, this is lame, and why. I don't think he's necessarily back at coach at all. See, this is how at least I kind of thought it was going to play out, that they were going to, Gorse, Arntellum, whoever, was going to, quote-unquote, strip some power from him, as they should, because his personnel decisions have been terrible, and every time you watch Donovan Mitchell, it's a knife in the back for sure, and that he would resist it, which, according to the report, he is, and I've heard enough from Van Gundy that he would be willing to walk away rather than agree to some of the changes. And I think that remains a distinct possibility. Like when the report came out yesterday, I didn't think that was, Van Gundy's coming back. I thought that was, I think he actually might walk away from this. And I've heard people say, oh, please, he's not. Well, he's talking. If you recall how many times he's talked about, I don't need this, I've had a great career, made money, I'm fine, I don't need this. I don't know if he would agree if indeed they want to get rid of Jeff Bauer. I think there's still a chance that he is just going to leave.
But let's just talk about that logic for 1 second. Let's say the Woj is correct, not you, Woj, the other Woj, and not that Woj, the other Woj.
Oh,
and Jeff Bauer is the sticking point here. What's Gorse thinking? Like, he can't look at the operation and go, it's that pesky Jeff Bauer.
Well, I think he might be thinking a little bit deeper than that. Now, don't laugh, but because I know Gorse is not a basketball guy, but I think he maybe is a manipulator of people, and maybe he really does understand a change needs to be made, but he is very appreciative that Stan Van Gundy 4 years ago picked the Pistons over the Golden State Warriors, if you recall, and brought some credibility to the Pistons organization, and Gorse does appreciate that, so he doesn't want to outright fire him per se, but he knows the deep pride and the connection that Van Gundy has with not only Jeff Bauer but other front office people there at the Pistons, and he knows that this is a way, perhaps, for Van Gundy to exit pride intact. Mm-hmm. And again, this is a Wojo theory, and I don't have any secret Wojnarowski sources, but having talked to people involved in this, I really do think there's a reason this has gone on for 2-3 weeks. Van Gundy is, I would think, even adamantly resisting particular changes. How do you think that's going to work out if he continues to resist particular changes? Do you think Gorse is just going to say, all right, everybody comes back, I forget what I said at the end of the year? No, I think someone's going to have to make a decision, and I think ultimately Van Gundy is going to make the decision.
But don't you think there's a chance Gorse might just forget about it?
Move on.
Are you stunned?
He's like buy another company.
He's like a kitten with a piece of yarn.
Are you stunned that Gorse even knows who Jeff Bauer is?
Well, I think he probably does because he listens to him on his weekly Pistons Tonight Show appearances. I think I'm sure that happens. Listen, would it be silly to act like Jeff Bauer is a legitimate fall guy? Yeah, of course that would be silly. I heard you guys talking earlier, unless somehow Bauer made all those draft picks and all those trades, which we're not buying that independently. But if you notice late in the season, especially when they made the Blake Griffin trade, that Van Gundy was really pushing Jeff Bauer out there more in the forefront, like press conferences and speaking upon things, and Jeff Bauer made all the calls, and Jeff Bauer. I wonder if that was his way of saying, see, he is my guy. I do need him. And if you, Mr. Goris, like the Blake Griffin trade, this is the guy that helped put it all together. This is the guy, knowing that it might come to this. Listen, I think it could be the Jeff Bauer. I think it could be a deal breaker for Stan Van Gundy. And if it is, then he should break the deal and move on. I mean, he shouldn't sit here and go, I'll come back. And I hate what. No, if he really is true to his word, then he should move on. And you know what? Goris does need to be, I don't know, a little bit more forceful. 2-3 weeks, that does seem a little bit silly. It's almost like he's trying to be too delicate about it.
Maybe bring Bauer back as coach and president and then fire Van Gundy.
Okay, there you go. Whatever it takes to bring Donovan Mitchell home. How can we do that?
All right.
But real quick, my last thing on the Pistons. And what's your prediction?
My prediction is that the Pistons will make the playoffs next year. Oh, no. Oh, on this.
Yeah. This.
I think it's close. I think it's a little more than 50-50 that Van Gundy does walk away. That he just, I've seen and heard him say enough times that I don't need this if it's not, and I think it's gone on. So the biggest word in that whole Woj story was the word resisting, that Van Gundy is resisting. Okay, we're going on 3 weeks. Resisting for that law, is Goris really going to cave? He's clearly still resisting, right? Van Gundy is. How long can you resist with the owner? We're going to test how much Tom Goris really does like Stan Van Gundy.
Well, Joe, to switch subjects, I have a question for you. The question is, who do you trust more in a big game situation? The Tigers bullpen from 2013 to 2017 or the Toronto Raptors?
Oh, the poor little Raptors batting the ball around the rim in the closing seconds.
What a choke job, man. That was ridiculous.
That was the saddest thing I've ever seen. that truly was.
Did you see the stat that in the fourth quarter they were 3 for 16 for shots inside 5 feet?
I heard you say that earlier, and I could not believe that. Although I think they were 3 for 16 inside 5 feet in the last 10 seconds. Well, no, only one would have mattered. That's amazing. And listen, full power to LeBron James, although he didn't have a great game last night or whatever.
Of course he didn't.
He had a triple-double. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he was, what was he?
Oh, yeah, terrible.
3 for 15 or something at some point.
In the 3 for 15 in the fourth quarter.
Jordan
buttsucks just cannot admit when LeBron is the king.
He's great, but that's irrelevant.
Are the Cavaliers, are they getting some good fortune in this postseason? Like with Indiana screwing up a couple of times and had a chance to win a couple of those games, and then Toronto absolutely punting this game. Okay, yes, the greatness of LeBron, of course, and we all acknowledge that, but getting a little bit of luck here, aren't they?
Yeah, we're thinking DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry are faux superstars.
Yeah, but and I'll full disclosure, and I'll stick to it. I'm not changing my pick. I took Toronto to win this series. Hey, shut up! Other people might have done it too.
They were the favorites in Vegas, by the way. You're right.
See, thank you very much.
I'll never forget. It was one of my favorite times ever. It was back in the late 90s where both Stoney and Wojo, when the Jazz played the Bulls, were like, this is the year. I think the mailman's going to de-seat Michael Jordan.
Oh, shut up. I never picked against Jordan. Yes, you
did, 100%. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. That's right. This is the year finally that the mailman gets it done. Unbelievable.
I need to hear tapes of that.
Oh, my God.
Because I hate the mail. I hated the mailman.
Phonies. Come on.
Jamie's making stuff up.
Probably.
No.
Didn't Wojo pick the Braves a bunch in the World Series?
Oh, yeah, to sweep
the
Yankees.
Right.
In New York. In New York.
Get that right.
All right.
So, well, this series isn't over, by the way, okay? Oh, come on. You've seen Cleveland blow games at home, too. So Just slow your roll, kids.
All right.
Slow it.
Look, I hope you're right. I'd love to see the Raptors win.
I got Warriors in 5. I'll give you everything else, every other possible combination. Warriors in 5 over the Cavs. You can have every other possible score permutation. You take that bet.
Wait, Warriors in 5 over the Cavs
Yeah.
in the finals?
No,
And
in the
Jamie-
semifinals,
and
that
you
can't
get-
happen.
And you get every other team and every other combination
Exactly.
if that series happens.
Yeah.
No, I agree with Jamie. I'll take the Warriors in 5 too.
What? Come on.
No,
You could have the
no.
Warriors in 6.
You can have the Warriors in 6, 4, and 7.
You could actually have the Rockets winning
You
that
can have
series.
the Rockets.
Wait, could I have the Warriors in 4?
Yes.
Ooh, maybe I would do that.
You get every other permutation other than Warriors in 5 over the Cavs.
Okay, I'll take every other permutation,
Okay.
including possibly the Rockets beating the Warriors.
Yeah,
which they won't.
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah, which they won't. Of
No.
course.
Yeah. Okay. For lunch.
For lunch?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, deal.
And do not sleep on Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz. Okay, wait a minute. Go ahead and sleep on that one. I
Yeah,
think that one's
Rubio
over.
might not play again.
Yeah, I think that one's over.
All right, Woj, great talking to you as always. Thanks for getting up early. Really appreciate it. And you guys are on 2 hours tonight, right? Day baseball. So Bogey and Wojo tonight, 6 o'clock.
Yeah, your timing's perfect. The masseuse just arrived.
Oh, the hot stone massage. Here it comes. 97.1 the ticket.